What's up, you guys? Welcome back into iHeartRadio's official wrestling podcast, the Battleground Podcast. And today is an exciting episode. AEW is coming to Louisville in November. It is going to be I was going to say it's going to be a big show because it is going to be a big show. I had to. Pun intended. We've got Paul Wright on the show today. Sir, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing fantastic. You can call me whatever you want. Yeah, you can deal with those lawyers. I'm not going to call myself that anymore.
I was going to say we were watching you on OVW, and the crowd started that, and then they turned it over real quick. Yeah.
We're like, no.
Please don't do that. There's a lawyer in Pittsburgh that worked for them for years that I fear greatly. I don't want him coming after me.
Understandable. So, well, this is all right for everybody that is watching the show right now, and I kind of have like a little bit of a shrine to you. I've got some former titles that you've won, and behind me, I've got the ECW over here, WWF, and the big gold.
Yeah, you have quite the wall over. That's a pretty nice wall. What's sad is I only have one title up in my home. It's the one where I beat Brock Lesnar because Paul Heyman sent it to me in a nice case for a present. I have that up, and I have one picture of me, John Cena, Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels together, and that's the only memorabilia I have up. That's crazy. I'm more of a what's today, what's tomorrow.
Right.
Those are pretty good ones to have. Yeah.
And so we recently saw you return to a special place in your evolution as a performer, appearing live at OVW to promote the upcoming AEW show that's happening in Louisville. What was it like being back there after so many years, and how much has changed since you trained there back in the day?
Well, I never trained at that facility back then. I trained at the one old on Mechanic Street, the old brick warehouse that full capacity was like 30 people.
Right.
I remember one night in OVW, we were working, and on my way to the ring, which was about a 12-foot walk, one of the fans, was 7 people that night. One of the fans was grilling hot dogs outside and asked me if I wanted a hot dog. And I said, damn it, not during my entrance.
Just imagine he's just walking in, this big guy with a hot dog about to kick ass.
After my match, I'll come find you. You know what I mean? But it was great. It was a great experience to see, that new Danny Davis Arena was nice, to see what Al Snow's done with everything, their success that they've had with their Netflix, the nice group of talent they have there. They have a lot of great talent that are learning about how to work on TV and how to present their characters. And those are the wholesome things that the pro wrestling, I think, needs. You need a lot of places like OVW and a lot of places like that to help talent to find out who they are, to be more authentic. That's one of the things about AEW that always attracted me to AEW was the authenticity. It's not your cookie cutter, stand here, pose here, here's your promo, here's your character name. It's more authentic, that kind of like it's got an old school feel where it comes from the wrestler themselves. And I understand it's different. There's all kinds of ways of doing business, but I'm really appreciative of Tony Khan's ability to let the talent discover and find themselves, and then he works that into the show. So I'm excited for Louisville. It's got such a great, loyal wrestling fan base to see us come to the KFC Fun Center November 1st. So it's going to be great.
Well, and like you mentioned, we've seen some of that OVW talent on some of the AEW programming, so it's kind of that synergy back and forth. Yeah,
Layla Gray, Cal Hero,
Cash Flow is on there. Yeah, a bunch of people. Yeah. So as you mentioned, we'll jump into that. Louisville, KFC Yum Center, November 1st, Dynamite. Tickets are still available, but obviously don't wait till last minute. You want to get those while you can. With Louisville being known as a wrestling city, and obviously with OVW connections, what does the crowd, what does that crowd bring to live events to like a Dynamite that maybe non-wrestling cities don't?
Well, here's the thing that I'm going to give you a little inside secret about the wrestling business. You're familiar with a good guy, a bad guy in the ring, a heel or a babyface, and the referee. But there's also a fourth member in a match that's super important, and that's the audience. And that's, what I mean? That's an audience that makes or breaks everything. Because, if you watch a really great match without a crowd, and we saw some of that during COVID, during the pandemic, it was good, but it didn't have that feel, that energy that a hot crowd can deliver. So for the fact that we have AEW Dynamite coming to Louisville, which is our flagship on TBS, then we're also doing a taping of Rampage. So you're getting quality wrestling time in a great hot audience like Louisville. This is a win for everybody. And you think about spending money on entertainment nowadays. It's so easy. There's so many things that come at us to watch on our phones or watch on our tablets, but to actually go out and make a memory. And that's the thing that professional wrestling, the fans understand. You come to an AEW event, it's an event you're never going to forget who you came with, what happened that night. There's characters for everyone, people to cheer for, people to boo, and the Louisville fans understand that and become a part of making that successful.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Something cool that we've noticed. I mean, one of the roles that you've taken on at AEW, because I know there's a lot of roles that you have, and seem to be very comfortable with, is commentary, which you also did recently at the OVW show. Was that a role that you ever saw yourself in, and would that be a role that you would like to have on like a full-time basis, whether it be Dynamite or Collision or Rampage?
Absolutely. That's one of my main reasons for kind of pursuing other things. I mean, where I worked before, I was a brand, I was an entity, and I filled specific roles. And sometimes it's very difficult to break outside of that roles because it's such an organized machine. They've got certain places for everyone, and this is your place. Tony Khan was really great to give me that mobility and that fluidity to try different things. I didn't know if I'd be good at commentary. I only did commentary maybe one or two matches like over the years of my career before, but I knew I had a feeling for it. I knew that I liked it. I knew that I'm not going to be a guy that's going to go out and physically train you like a Billy Gunn, like a Jay Lethal, like an Al Snow, a Fit Finley. I'm not that kind of a coach. I can't tell you the difference between a wrist lock and a hammer lock. But what I can do is help talent put their story over on air. Because that was one of the things that always made a difference for me early in my career and when I was trying to establish myself. Even though the story I was trying to tell in the ring, the announcers play such a key role in that. They can help translate your story to the television audience that's not there, that can't understand the energy or the little nuances. So they help propel that storyline along. And I think you think about your great commentators back in the day, whether it's Gordon Soley, and of course we have Jim Ross, who's Hall of Fame, one of the best commentators of all time in pro wrestling. We have Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, Taz. They're so great at letting you know as an audience member watching at home what's going through that talent's mind. And I just enjoy that flavor because I feel like I have a good insight on what the athlete is trying to communicate to the audience in the arena and helping the viewers at home and helping that character establish themselves and become their own brand. So that I had a lot of I think I can do it. I'm pretty sure I can do it. And sure, there's a lot of things that I learned along the way on Elevation. It was a great place to cut my teeth. But yes, there's definitely down the road, that's where I'm going to end up eventually when I finally give up the boots. But right now, I'm still having fun. You know what I mean? So we'll still lace the boots up and get in there and slap somebody around a little bit.
Yeah.
Just take every day with grace and humility and just have fun.
And I think to your point, sometimes going to the live event, it does take you out a little bit because you're so used to the commentary, with that. So to just see it in action, there's a little of an adjustment period. So like the commentary, almost going back to what you said, that sometimes that's the fifth member of the ingredients.
Yeah.
That really helps with the storytelling. Yeah. Speaking of AEW, Tony Khan and the Elite and everybody that's helped set the groundwork, they built this company presenting massive opportunities for new talent. We're always talking about the homegrown talents within AEW. Slip up there. And we've seen a lot of the younger stars break out into the higher ranks of the card. Obviously, MJF's the world champion right now. Who are some of the talents you have your eye on who you think are going to be in that next cycle of those breakout stars within AEW?
Well, I mean, some of those younger talents are pretty evident when you see them. Some of these talents have been bigger stars in other countries. There's a lot. We're working really well with NJPW. There's a lot of Americans now that are seeing some tremendous New Japan Pro wrestlers come over here with that style and that influence. And I'm really encouraged and amazed at the AEW audience because the way they understand the NJPW guys. They know their ring music. They're familiar with it. So you had to dig to find that NJPW footage, and now it's getting presented on a national platform on TBS. When I look at our young talent, off the top of my head, not that they're on their way. I still think of them as young, but they've done fantastic work. You look at the Acclaimed with Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Mm-hmm. I always love asking Max Caster before he goes out. I say, "Are you going to say anything that's going to get you in trouble?" And he looks at me with a straight face. He goes, "Probably." I said, "Good, go be you." You know what I mean? Like, you love that energy. I look at Colton and Austin Gunn, of course, Billy Gunn's kids. I mean, they're just so athletic and so much potential there. Like, when you've been in the business long enough, you can kind of look in 30 or 40 seconds of watching somebody move and interact. You go, okay, they've got potential. You know, my old boxing trainer used to say potential is a French word for you ain't worth a darn yet. But you can definitely see that those kids are in the right environment. Hook, Taz's son, has came in with instant. He's that good-looking, kind of a rebel. He's got the hair. I'm just jealous over. So I think Taz and I are both jealous over Hook's hair, because I tease Hook all the time. I said, "Man, what I wouldn't do for a hairdo like that," you know. But he's doing a great job of connecting with the audience and presenting a good character that resonates. Orange Cassidy, you know. When would you ever think, if you'd have told me that you could have a character that would have a lackadaisical approach to anything in pro wrestling and it would work, I wouldn't believe you. Because pro wrestling is all about energy. Right. And here comes along Orange Cassidy, who's like, "Hey, you've got a championship match." He's like, "Cool."
Yeah, whatever.
You know, the guy's like he's walking around with Valium drip IV, you know.
Yeah.
But the fans get it because that's a character that he did, whether he was doing that originally to make fun or to whatever, but he's made himself a brand and a character, and even talking about t-shirts and marketing, you know, with Orange Cassidy. You know, some of the marketing people are like, "Oh, you can do anything but a white t-shirt." He was like, "Nah, I'll do a white t-shirt," and it's one of the hottest selling shirts, you know.
Right.
But I love that, because in a world where talent doesn't have input and creativity as much as they should, because there'll be a list of people to tell you why you can't do something. You know, here in AEW, it's like, yeah, man, if you like it, try it. And that's how you become more authentic. So when I see younger talent in AEW who have that freedom, that ability to experiment and create and recreate themselves, Julia Hart. Look at Julia Hart. She first came in, she was doing a cheerleader gimmick, and that's what you would think as a wrestler. Pretty blonde, good athlete, you know what I mean? Cheerleader, that fits. And then you see Julia Hart now, House of Black, you know, she looks about as evil can be, which is a great character. She's really comfortable in that character. So there's a lot of talent that's going to get great opportunities to discover themselves on a national platform between social media and everything else, and then TBS and TNT exposure. There's a chance for a lot of great stars to discover themselves. And the great thing for talent and fans is when you have viable companies that are taking care of the athletes, that are paying the athletes, the contracts are guaranteed, the money's good, the rehab and after surgeries and medical care and stuff like that is good. The training program, we have orthopedics on staff, we have trainers on staff, we have people to protect the athletes to keep them going. If an athlete doesn't make it in one brand, for whatever reasons, they get a chance to regroup, they might be successful in another brand. And that's good for the fans, because you might see somebody that's, "Oh, I really like this person. Why aren't they getting a push? Why aren't they making it?" And then they go to another company and they do very well. So when there's only one game in town, that's never really good for anyone, I don't think. And I think competition is a good thing. I think it's better for the talent. And I think it gives the fans options, because fans want to have the ability to pick and choose what they want to watch.
Right. For sure. And of course, you're going to be able to watch AEW live in person when they come to Louisville in November. You can grab your tickets right now, AEWTix.com. That is TIX.com. Now we've got a couple of fun questions for you. And I want to go into the DeLorean real quick. I want to go back. The year is 1995. It is Detroit. It is Halloween Havoc.
What do you want to know?
I am curious. How did you survive falling off the roof of the arena and made it back to the show the next night? Just out of curiosity.
Well, let me set the tone for you. We did that night on the roof of Cobo Hall, the monster truck battle. Now, I had wrestling gear and wrestling boots under a fire suit. Mm-hmm. That's all I had on, because you had to wear a fire suit in those monster trucks because of the high test gasoline, and that was one of the things. Well, what they don't tell you is if your pant legs aren't secured to the bottom of your boot, the whole open under compartment of those monster trucks is just air. And it was like minus 20 degrees out. So I was frozen inside of that monster truck suit. Hogan was freezing. I was freezing. We get to the battle on the wall. I fall off the wall. I dropped about 30 feet into an airbag, if you want to know the truth of it. Now, at my time in my career then, falling in an airbag, cool. If you said to me now, hey, you're going to fall 3 stories into an airbag, no, I'm not. You're out of your mind. No, we're not doing that. I've never fallen in an airbag before. What if I land on my head? No.
Or what if you miss it?
Well, it was a pretty big airbag, thank God. But famous words of Ellis Edwards, who's a great stunt coordinator, who's done a lot of the great stunts in pro wrestling and is with us now in AEW. He'll pat you on the shoulder and say, yeah, you'll probably be all right. So, which is really encouraging. So I fall off Cobo Hall, fall in the airbag. We do the whole thing because they're making me this giant mythical character. I went up to Kevin Sullivan, who was the booker at the time. I went, Kevin, I said, I fell off the roof of Cobo Hall. Should I be like dirty or should I be wet because I fell in the water? Like, I'm so thinking character like it's a movie. And this is pro wrestling, Kevin Sullivan looks me dead in the eye and he goes, brother, you're a giant. It doesn't matter. And he walks off.
That's great.
That was Halloween Havoc, and that was my first match. And in that match, I remember at one point I got Hogan in the corner, and I didn't have any corner offense. I only had 5 months of power plant training, and that was about it. But I didn't have like high knees. I didn't have a chop. I didn't have a back elbow. It's my first match. And most of that match was called in the ring by Hogan, which is really insane to take somebody as green as I was and as strong as I was and say, no, brother, I'll call it out there. Just listen to me. So I get in the corner and I get the deer in the headlights, which means like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And then Hogan grabs my hand and starts fighting with my hand. And he goes, no, brother, don't. And then he puts my own hand up. So I'm choking him in the corner. That was all Hogan, because Hogan was so experienced. He looked right at me and knew I was lost. And then once I did that, I said, okay, I'm back into it now. But now, for a while, I thought he was crazy. We never talked about any spots. We never talked about anything. Like, what is he doing? He's insane. Now that I'm a little older, I get it. If you tell somebody in the ring and you know what you want to do and they were willing to listen, then there's less chances of something going wrong. Because if you give people too long to think about something, they'll come up with really bad ideas. So it's, as you get older, calling it in the ring is why all the old timers like to do it. Plus, when you get older, you can't remember anyway. So it's just best to feel the crowd and make it up as you go. So
there you go. Yeah.
Well,
so Halloween Havoc.
That's your Halloween Havoc story.
Yes. Yeah, that's always been that was always my favorite WCW pay-per-view. So that was a nice little tidbit there. Going back a little bit to a little bit more recently, 1998, Waterboy, Captain Insano. Did you ever think
shows no mercy?
Yeah. Did you ever foresee that possibly coming back to reality in any capacity? And what's the what have you thought of the fans' reaction to seeing him back on the screen?
It's always funny because a lot of guys have been on me for years. Man, you should do that Captain Insano gimmick. You should do that. Fans love Captain Insano. What's funny is I almost didn't do Captain Insano. I almost didn't do the Waterboy. They were screen testing. They were screen testing guys at Universal when we were doing a taping. You would go in, because we used to do those big tapings there, and say, hey, there's an opportunity to go over and read for this part. They're looking for a wrestler to play this part in the movie. And I almost didn't do it because I heard Jim Duggan had gone and read for it. And I was like, oh, Hacksaw Duggan, who's going to be wilder and crazier than that? And then I guess one of the casting ladies was watching the matches. And after match, she says, would you please come and read? We'd like to put you on tape. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go read. So then I just did the whole Captain Insano voice, and I just went crazy. I didn't even think about it or anything. Just I'm going to let my inner wild, wacky wrestling dude, because, I honestly didn't think I was going to get the part. I didn't even try to get it, which is so weird to think. And then when I showed up to do it, we literally did one take. I read the script. All that verbiage was in the script. I read the script, did it in one take, and they're like, "That's great, thanks." And I'm like, "Wow, I'm really good at this."
Nailed it.
Nailed it. One wonder.
That's it.
But to have that, I mean, a lot of that too is that was a very beloved movie, and obviously Adam Sandler was fantastic to work with, and I got to know Adam real well. And Adam's mom I would run into Adam Sandler at Super Bowl events here and there, and he would always be with his family. And Adam used to introduce me to everyone. She would hold my hand, and she would watch. She said, "This is Adam's big friend, Paul. He's a pro wrestler." She never would call me by my gimmick name, my wrestling name, whether I was a Giant or the Big Show or whatever. "This is Adam's big friend, Paul. He's a pro wrestler." Like, she was so sweet and nice. It was really cool deal. And then with the opportunity with AEW, obviously I was a brand for so long. You know what I mean? I was that brand for so long. And what do you do next? Because let's be honest, Paul Wight is kind of cool, but it doesn't have the oomph like for wrestling. You want something with some oomph. Well, what am I going to call myself? I mean, legally I could try to call myself the Grande Presentation, which I guess is a show in Spanish, but I would probably, that might not work because my Spanish is terrible. So the opportunity came out, and Tony Khan was like, "Hey, would you ever do Captain Insano?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if we could get the rights to me to do Captain Insano." I said, "I don't want to invest a lot of time in another brand that I don't own. I mean, that's just, And he goes, "Oh, let me work on it." And then Tony Khan went and got me Captain Insano. Like, no BS, no garbage, no tons of contracts. Here's Captain Insano. Go with it. You can wrestle with it. You can do action figures. You can do merchandise. You do all this. It's all yours. Go ahead.
Wow.
I can do comic books. I could probably do an animated TV show if SAG is up strong. I can do an animated TV show with Captain Insano. It's like you just put that in my hand. Like, here you go, bud. Thanks for coming to AEW. It's like, I didn't know how to act with all that.
That's insane.
Thank you. And now we're having fun. Getting it together and figuring out what we're going to do with it. I mean, there's the thing. I'm not running for championships or trying to win titles or big feuds. My thing is to come out, have fun with the crowd, kind of like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. They're happy I'm still alive. I wave at them, do a couple signature things, show some young guys a few things on timing, and get out and have fun.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Pretty cool story, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's story time with Paul today. That should be the next podcast. Story time with Paul. One last question. I know you're a busy man, and recently Sting announced this past Wednesday that his career will end at Revolution 2024. Wow. A guy that you have a history with. And you kind of answered the question. I know you're not officially retired from in-ring action. You've got some more matches in you, correct? Before you decide to hang it all up.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I probably got a year and a half, 2 years left before it's just really, it's about trying to help this younger talent and then moving on to that commentary role and then it's up to the younger talent. Right now I'm still froggy and want to have fun and play a little bit, but I've had plenty of matches. I've done plenty of tours. I've had plenty of rivalries, and right now it's kind of like the I can in helping the product out, and but there's a time all things come to an end, unfortunately. And even with Sting, who's had such a tremendous career and is such a incredible dude, even backstage, Sting has always been a guy that's always had a good positive attitude about stuff, willing to do anything, willing to work hard to get anyone over, knows who he is as a character, knows his audience, goes out of his way every time he steps foot in the ring to give the audience 100%. Nothing but respect for Sting, and the fact that I owe him $5 in a gin game because he's up one game right now. So I'd like to say that he's a great guy and a really crappy card player, which normally, like Sting is a guy I play cards with in case I want to get some extra Starbucks money or something. I can go to Sting and get a quick 10, 15 bucks off of him playing gin. But he's been putting up quite the battle lately. He's improved his card game since the last time we played. It kind of took me by surprise a little bit.
I guess you can't be going to get that Starbucks money from him then anymore.
No, I'm in the hole right now, and every now and then I get text, "Hey, you got that $5 you owe me?"
Here's what I'll do. I'll Venmo him the $5, and I'll cover you this go around.
Thanks. At this stage of the game, you just want to be the one ahead so you can aggravate the other guy for the money. It's not really about the money. It's the fact that right now in Jin game, he has his foot on my neck and he's loving it, because when the roles are reversed, believe me, every day I will send a messenger to his house to send him a note to remind him that he owes me $5. I'll spend $100 to remind him he owes me $5. That's where the fun comes into it. You got a singing telegram. Make sure you pay the $5. Send him a singing telegram.
There you go.
Like that.
Incorporate it in like a promo or commentary when you're doing a match.
Absolutely. Oh, So that's a 100%. Tremendous athlete, Sting, giving so much to the business. By the way, you got that $5 you owe me. That kind of thing.
It's fantastic. Well, Paul, I know you're a very busy man, and again, AEW is coming to Louisville. AEWTix.com. That is TIX.com. Grab your tickets; they will go fast. Paul, it is an honor. It is a privilege, and we just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's finally good to see you again. I love being the fact that I was your first, and now I'm just the next in many, many other stars that you will interview over the years. So congratulations on your success as well.
Thank you so much, Paul.